Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Global Intelligence Update. As always, we've got a great guest with us, and this week we've got Cobus Visser joining us. And for those that don't know who Cobus is, let me give you guys a quick rundown. So Cobus is a renowned South African author, speaker, life coach, and firewalking instructor. Known as the Viking, Cobus has inspired thousands globally with his powerful message of resilience and personal transformation. Despite being diagnosed with haemophilia and overcoming immense physical challenges, he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and mastered the art of firewalking. Cobus is dedicated to helping individuals and leaders unlock their potential through firewalking, executive coaching, and peak performance programs. His mantra, whatever it takes, drives his mission to empower others to achieve greatness in all areas of life. Thanks for joining us, Cobus.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate being here this morning. Quickly, I see Antonio as a familiar face. I was at his talk in Bali, and what an amazing talk I listened to, and one for the memory books. I think on the group is who was also in Bali? Was it Antonio, or was there anyone else also in Bali recently and had met up with us? And if not, just let me know in the chat box where you're from. And would like nice to know where is everyone from the Circle of Excellence family. I think the nice thing about being in Bali is that there was about more than 10 of us that we met up and that we really connected with each other. So, and a few Australians as well. Now, Tony, one of my favorite places is Sweden. So you just know I was in Sweden last year, and I'm coming back. It was at Seven Lakes. There's something like Struthor or something. I can't pronounce it perfectly. But I found my place where I'm going to get married next year. So everyone is invited to be at my wedding next year. So if you can make it to Sweden, why not? Come and join me. Yeah, as you heard, it's Cobus Visser the Viking. And my whole philosophy is about living without regret and doing whatever it takes. Whatever it takes is so important for me, is that we can either live with BS stories in our life, right? We all have BS. Now, quickly, if I have to ask you a question, how many of you heard of someone that says, I will do my best? Can I just, in the chat box, let me know. Have you ever said, I will do my best? When someone said, are you going to do it? And you say, yeah, don't worry, I will do my best to make it happen. Let me know if you're one of those that constantly says, I will do my best, or hear from other ones. So one is, please don't believe those BS stories, because it's not true. Because the thing is, it's not the BS bullshit, but it's rather belief systems. I think you're going to living in this belief system. I will do whatever. I will do my best, but you will always have an excuse of why you didn't achieve it. Because Cobus, it's because I didn't have internet. Cobus, because of the government, or in South Africa we like to say we have load shedding. So we constantly can easily find reasons why we don't have it and say, at least I did my best, Cobus, but it was out of my hands. Where with a philosophy of whatever it takes, can you do whatever it takes? And have you planted all of the seeds? Have you walked in faith? Have you made sure that you have all of the ingredients in place? And then to have faith that it all will fall into place. And I think that is where the secret lies for me. Now, one thing is, I want to share a little bit about me, is that I wrote my book called Walking Through Fire more than a year ago. I went through a very challenging time. And in that challenging time, made me think about life, about, because I started making wrong choices in my life. I allowed the wrong people. One thing I learned from Mike and Lani, as you also would do, is how important is living by our values. And when I started adopting this new philosophy and new values to live by, suddenly I got tested. And suddenly I was tested on the values that I live by. Now, just in the group, I would love to know you, because if you've worked with Mike and Lani, you probably know what your top 3, 4, 5 values are. Just pop it in. I would love to know who I'm speaking with and how everyone's values are. So if you don't mind sharing that. And knowing these values was so important, is that I was tested on it. And suddenly, because I wasn't strong, I started faltering. And I became to a point where I was questioning my life's purpose. Now, on this, one of my values that I will share with you today is of a legacy. And I want to ask you about it, is that how many of you would, if you go through a challenging time, would put up their hands now, put in the chat box, that if you were going through a challenging time, that you can go to your cupboard and you can pull out a book that was written by your father or your mother, or by your great-grandfather or your great-great-grandfather, of their life and their stories and their lessons learned to inspire you? How many of you would love something like that while I look at the values? How many of you would love something to be open to have a book and be inspired by your forefathers or foreparents? How many of you would love that? I would love to see. Okay, see hands. We all do, right? Now, I just want to see values. I love the values: honesty, purpose, justice, stillness, well-being, creativity, honesty. Oh, Philippe, nice to see you here as well, brother. Connection, abundance. Wow, it's amazing, the values, because it just tells you who you are as a person. And Dile says, I live on the shoulders of my forefathers who are giants. Now, if we don't know where we're coming from, how can we learn from the mistakes? And one thing that I wrote about this, I had all of the stories about not writing a book. Because as you notice, I'm from South Africa. And first and foremost, my first language is Afrikaans. I've spoken English since I've been twice. I know it's a little bit delicious. However, sometimes my pronunciation, I exaggerate a little bit, but okay, if we just arch off it and pause. So I have all of these excuses, and I can't always have this excuse of not being able to leave something behind. However, when I went through this difficult time, I realized something had to change. Now, if I go through it, I want to share with you on this process is one of my values is to have courage, right? Is to be able to take risks, able to take the chances and say, look, no matter what, I will be in a state of I will take the risk. Because the whole philosophy is based on the foundation of the quote from Gandhi that says, everything starts with a belief. It becomes our thoughts, it becomes our words then become our actions then become our habits ultimately become our values is our foundation, and ultimately that becomes our destiny. Now, just to share a little bit about me for those who don't know me, is that one of my passions is about walking on fire. You have to have courage. It's all about taking that first step of walking through fire. Now, how many of you in this group believe fire burns? How many of you in this group believe fire burns? Let me know. Okay, a few hands are like, wow. Now, fire burns because either of a past experience that you've had, or a what if I get burned because we've been taught fire is dangerous. However, when we walk over fire, we walk between 500 and 600 degrees Celsius. That means aluminium melts at around 250. Medical book says you have to go to third degree burns at 150, yet we walk over that. And so we have a saying, you can do that, you can do anything. So there's science behind it, and I can give you multiple reasons why it's possible, but it is possible to walk over a hot fire, 500 to 600 degrees Celsius. Now, my question to you is, how many beliefs do you still hold on to that you've been taught from your past, from friends, from people, from the environment, that you still believe is true and that you never question them? That you believe are true about yourself, maybe, about the world? And that's my question to you is, how many of you still holding on sometimes on these beliefs, but what is possible? Now, I had a belief that I couldn't lose weight because I was born as hemophilia. As hemophiliac means I'm a bleeder. My blood doesn't clot. So I have to get injections, what they call a clotting factor, to help the blood to clot. But because of all of the bleedings over the years, my joints have disintegrated. And so I can't exercise, I can't walk, I can't do a lot of things. I had all of these excuses. Now, the doctor said, Cobus, your ankles are so bad, you have to either get them replaced or fused. That was my reality. Now, I could either accept that reality or I could change that reality. The only thing for me while I was deciding this, I still had to motivate people from a chair. Now, imagine motivating people from a wheelchair to walk over fire, right? They think it's crazy, right? Cobus, how's this possible? Now, one thing that I realized is to inspire you to a little bit about today, and I'm going to challenge you at the end of this call, is no matter what pain we're going to experience, what challenges lies in front of us. The secret of this is, and I learned it from my whole journey, is that it takes one step. I was on a mountain by the name of Kilimanjaro. And I remember as I climbed this mountain, and it was pitch black, it was dark all around. And I looked down, and then the guide said, Cobus, can you see your next step? And I think that's the one tool that I want to give you today is, no matter how dark or how the world seems out there, what is the next step that you need to give? Because that next step will lead to the next step. I think it's Patrick David that says, what is your next 5 moves that you need to do? That starts with the next step and move forward. And then go through this is that excuses is there just to stop us from reaching our full potential. Now, I had this opportunity of these 3 young men in wheelchairs coming to me and says, oh, we can't walk on fire, right? And I said, yet you have hands. Are we going to live always by having a reason why we can't do things or why we shouldn't do it? I had all of the reasons, for example, recently to not go to Bali. However, I was in Bali. So you can find reasons. It's easy to find reasons why you can't do it. My thing is, what is reasons of you to be able to do it? How can you do it? And I want to inspire you today with my young son that was 2 years old. And yeah, he's about 6 years old that when you walk on fire, he loves it. I just want to share it with you. The challenge that I have with my son now is that he says, Dad, if he wants something, he wants to do something. He's like, Dad, you said if I can walk on fire, I can do anything, right? Now, the challenge is I can't just tell him no. I have to really think about my answer, what he should be able to do or not do, because the thing is, he has this faith and belief in him that anything is possible, no matter what the world puts on him. So one of the other values that I've adopted after courage is freedom. Now, Antonio, that is from Sweden. This is values that I found in a book that talks about the virtues and values of the Vikings. It's about creating freedom. How many of you love the freedom that your business provides for you, or the potential of the freedom the business is going to provide for you? Right? We all do, right? So I first needed to discover that power of that freedom. Now, as a haemophiliac, I was not being able to walk. I was confined to a wheelchair or to my crutches. However, I had this philosophy of whatever it takes. And I set myself a goal in 2018 to go climb the highest mountain in Africa called Kilimanjaro. Again, I had all the excuses. Yet, now, Antonio, were you at my talk when I showed this? You remember, Antonio? So,
no, I'm afraid I wasn't. I think I've already left by then. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to.
That's okay. Then you will get this one as well. So thank you for that. I want you to look at this. This is on Kilimanjaro, and you see we're on top of the clouds. How beautiful is this, right? Now, I want to ask you, and I'm so glad Antonio hasn't seen this yet, so he can't give it away. But which one are you? Are you the one that always sees the beauty in everything and the potential in everything? Or are you the one constantly seeing the shithouse at the bottom, all of the problems that is so small, yet we make it so big? And that is what they call a long drop on Kilimanjaro. Yes, it's in the front of the picture, but I think one thing that it taught me is, what do we focus on and where should our focus be? And I wanted to challenge you today is there's going to always be reasons why things are not going to work and challenges and stuff, but focus on the potential of the possibilities. There's even a book that says the art of the possibility. What is your possibilities, right? Then on this journey of creating freedom, I realized I needed to let go and trust in other people. And one thing, and this powerful lesson of this journey was the power of when I climbed the part of this mountain called Barranca Wall, I had to rely on 2 guides, people that I've just met on this journey. To make sure that I'm pulled up, so that because I don't have the strength in my elbows to do it myself. And one at the back to make sure I don't fall down this mountain. And sometimes, and this is where walking in faith comes from, is to walk through this faith in this period of freedom, is to have faith that everything will work out. No matter how difficult and challenging the road seems ahead, if you do it with others on this path, and this is why I love the circle of excellence in this family and meeting all of you, is that doing it together that we can achieve the impossible. However, there's going to be times as we look and reflect on our life, the living without regret about everything that we've achieved, that sometimes it might feel that we want to give up. I remember sitting here on watching the highest sunrise in Africa, looking at it. I actually gave up at that moment. And I remember my friend next to me said, Cobus, let's go down. It's okay. You've done enough. Already at that time, I had altitude sickness. I couldn't breathe. I was in pain. And that's what friends does. They were willing sometimes to serve. And I think sometimes on our journey is, how can we serve each other? How can we help each other? And on my journey this last year, that I realized when it was my challenging time for me, is that the people that came into my life to serve me, to make sure that I can get to the top of my mountain. And I told him, I said, well, no, you go climb the mountain for us. And before he left, he just said the words, "Cobus, remember why you came to climb this mountain." And then I suddenly had more energy and I could push through to the top of the mountain. Now, I didn't get to the highest spot. I only got to Stellar Point. However, I pushed my body to its limits. I did it with my crutches. And my lesson and story for you in that is, during difficult times and challenging years, that's just to persevere one step. What's your next step? And just keep moving forward and keep moving forward. And I think that is sometimes the thing is in this world where we are now is, how can you make your passion and your purpose a reality so you can live in that freedom? And then the next thing that I want you to inspire you today is to go and create your legacy. What is the legacy you're leaving behind for future generations? But first, to know our legacy, first we need to know, and this is why I have this split image of me, half Viking, half corporate future, is we need to understand where we're coming from. What is our history, so that we're not destined to repeat it, but we can learn from it, right? Learn from the past, learn from others from our past journey, and then look ahead and look at what is the steel, what do we want to forge going forward. And that's my challenge to you. What is it you want to forge in the next year, 2 years from now? Because as we end the end of 2024, what is your 2025 going to look like? And what is the legacy you want to leave? Because my legacy is not only the book that I wrote, but it's my 2 little boys, Tian and Vian. And I just want to share with you a little bit about them, is that they're my everything. They gave me a reason to stand up and wake up every morning. And I live for them. And so they inspired me to write my book. I don't want to go through the video, but what I want to share with you is quickly is that what is your legacy you're going to leave behind impossible to make possible? I want you to think about this rugby team in South Africa. Now, rugby, for those who don't know, it's when you play with a ball and you all chase the ball so that someone can score a try points. I know the Aussies would know what it is in South Africa. But what I want to share with this story is that these were the rejects in South Africa in 2017. Nobody gave them opportunity, nobody gave them a chance. One thing that they did and went on was they created something called a North Star. What is our future? What is it we want to achieve? And then they adopted the philosophy about whatever it takes. When you do whatever it takes, you have faith that, like a farmer, even though it looks dry and it looks impossible to plant seeds, that the rain won't come, that you still have to have faith, plant the seeds, look after the ground, and have faith that the rain will come. And in that year, they went on to win some of the best teams in South Africa and in Australia, and they made the impossible possible. So my challenge to you today, ladies and gentlemen, is, and I know Mike has challenged me and I want to challenge you, is to go on your greatest quest ever. It's to go on something, to do it and be in the next 12 months so that we can all celebrate together, and hope everyone is up for a challenge. So who's up for a challenge? Even though if you've done something, it doesn't have to be this challenge that I'm going to give you now. It can be any challenge. How many of you are up for a challenge? Let me know in the chat box. Yes, yes, yes. It's only a yes or a yes. I want to see it. I want to know. Yes, Andrea. Now, quickly tell me in the chat box also, on this journey of yours, how many of you have written a book, for example? Can you let me know? How many of you have written a book? Or, okay, Philippe says I'm in. How many of you in this group have written a book? Say, I have a book, right? Right. Let me see. Because I'm going to challenge you. Oh, Bert says not yet. Karen says yet busy writing. Fabulous, fabulous. Now, I'm not a book writer, right? I'm not someone, Johan says I have. Now, Johan, I want to challenge you to challenge people, because what I've done now is, even with my clients, I've challenged them to do it as well. And that is to write a book, but not a book about things, but about your story, your purpose, you, right? Go write a book about your journey. I wrote my book and it was a memoir, but it's your life lessons. It's about who you are, your journey, your experiences. And I just want to challenge you to say is, go and define your book and write your book. I would love to support you all, but a book about your life's journey, not about your business, not about anything, because that is your legacy that you leave behind that we can all learn from. And so one is identify your core message. Why do you want to write this book? And what is the person? What is the legacy you're going to leave behind? Because I remember sitting down is, I need to leave a legacy. Because like I said in the beginning, how many of you would love to have read a book written by your father, your mother, your great-grandfather, and tons of inspiration, learning from their stories and their journey? And so one is define your purpose and your message. Second is then create an outline. So what I went and did is I mapped out my whole life from the moment before I was born, where my history, where I come from. Because sometimes we forget is that we have a history before we even were born, that we were destined to born. So where did you come from? Who's your family? Where's that history like? Where are you now? And up till now, today, and then what is your future like? Write it down, put it down. One thing that I found in doing this with the tools that is out there is because I'm not a writer, there's amazing tools where you just speak it and you transcribe it, and you can basically speak your book into life, right? Andrea Anderson says he has one with editors. Awesome, I love it. And the next one is schedule. Is what I said to myself, and this is what helped me on this journey, is that I did a little bit every day, right? Every day I spent half an hour to an hour just to work on the book. It took me 12 months. I wrote it into 12 months from someone that has never written anything in his life, right? I went out and to put it down. So it's sitting out in your calendar and write it down. Step 4 is then after you have your first draft, is don't be perfectionist, right? That it all has to be in it, because my book is now currently 290 pages. Before that, before it went to the final edit, it almost had 1,000 pages. And luckily I had the right editor in the end of the day to help me to drill it down, to put it in a story format to be easy to be read. Then edit and revise. One thing that I want to challenge you is that the biggest feedback that I get from my book is about how easy it is readable. And one thing that I found in easiest, make the letters as the biggest size that is possible, that is allowed by your editor, right? And also the spacing between the words so that it's easy readable. People read my book sometimes in a day, 2 days, 300 pages, because it's so easily readable. And I think that is something that I would like to challenge you on. And then one is format and design. I just spoke about the things, but also rather invest. So I took a lot of money and I said, I'm self-published. I didn't go for a publisher, but I rather paid an editor to do the perfect job. And I see Andreas says he has his as well there, and the design. And let me get my book in front of me. I think I showed you the cover, but I want to show you again. Is just how beautiful is this, right? And it's thick, amazing. And, it's just amazing feeling to have a book. And I want to challenge you. It's what is you leaving behind? My dad sent me a message the other day. He was reading my book and he said he's never cried so much. I said, yeah, but you know my story. He said, yeah, but it was so easy. It was just so beautiful. And I think one thing that someone said, Antoni, one of his talks at Bali was that stories, telling your things into stories. It's not about writing facts. It's not about writing things down, but can you compile it into a story? Because people remember stories instead of facts. And I think that is the one thing that's important. And then one reason why I went the self-publishing book route is that you are so much more control and make so much better money, and then create a PR campaign around it. And I'm not a book publisher or someone as a professional book writer, but I thought of doing this today is to challenge you to not only you write a book, but here's my challenge to you as well. If you still have family members, if you still have a dad, if you still have parents, if you are a parent, or if you know someone that is, challenge them to write down their legacy. My journey actually started when I wrote my book. Was not for the other people. I wrote it down as my eulogy. And the end of the book, I end up with my eulogy. It was that if I had to die today, what is it I'm leaving behind for my kids to inspire them? And not only my kids, their future generation, of that if I can do this, that they can do it. And I hope that through this little bit of what I could share with you today, that I not only inspire you, but inspire you to go inspire others to, it's not about writing a book, because there's multiple ways of doing it. You can do videos as well, but to go do something where you leave something behind that you inspire the future generations to come, and you inspire us by doing something that you probably thought of never doing. And one thing that I did in my book is be authentic, be real, be you. And sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable to sharing your story. And as I do this, I leave you with a quote that I have tattooed on my heart that says, I am here for a purpose, and that purpose is to grow into a mountain and not to shrink into a grain of sand. So henceforth, I will apply all my efforts to grow into the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. Do whatever it takes and go live without regret. Create your freedom, live in courage, and leave a legacy behind. Thank you for everyone for being here today. Thank you, Chris. It was awesome that I could share a little bit about me, and please connect with me online, and I hope to come and visit you wherever you are, and thank you for your share. Is there any questions anyone is welcome to ask? Otherwise, I just want to say thank you from my side.
Yeah, no, thank you, Cobus, for sharing, as always, so motivating and inspiring. Maybe there's someone on the call here that has seen Cobus live and that can testify. Cobus is a really great speaker, and he really connects with his audience. He's got a great story to share. And yeah, we just really appreciate it, man. You're such an awesome guy. And yeah, thanks, Cobus. Thanks.
Thank
you.
Yeah,
yeah, sorry, Cobus, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, beginning of the year, like I said, Mike said to me, Cobus, when you're on stage, you look pregnant. And I said, yeah, probably about 8 months. And we laughed. And he said, Cobus, you talk about mindset, you talk all about this, but you have to look the part as well. And but Mike, I have so much excuses. I don't have joints. I can't exercise. I can't do all of this. He said, but your philosophy is whatever it takes. And so I had to go think about whatever it takes, because I was almost 140 kilograms at that time. And over the last period of 8 months, without exercising extra, without doing, I found what works for me. And I lost about 30 kilograms over the last 8 months. And I don't have clothes fitting me anymore because they're all too big. And then Chris challenged me to go for a 6-pack. So I might still a little bit to go. There's still a little bit of a roll at the bottom, Chris. But yeah, hopefully by December, not hopefully, by December, on a holiday, I will show my 6-pack and be on the beach, showing people that anything is possible.
Yeah, no, that's great, guys. Cobus is a real inspiration, and if you're not connected with him, please do it on LinkedIn. I don't think we've got any questions. Andile is saying, I did the firewalk with Cobus years ago, life-changing stuff. So there's a great testify. Andrea, love how Mike and Lundy hold the mirrors to ourselves. Gavin saying, thank you for sharing, Cobus. Bert, awesome inspiration. Thank you, Cobus. And Philippe also saying, thank you, Cobus. So it looks like that's it.
You had your hands up. I said Anthony had his fingers up.
Okay.
I did. Thank you so much. What a great story you shared with us. And now I'm happy that I didn't see it in Bali because I had to leave. But so now I see it for the first time. But it was really cool. One reflection from my side is that you said, and it really took to my heart, when wouldn't you want to have a book from your ancestors, with their wisdom and so on? And I don't, and perhaps you don't either. But we are the ones writing those books to our coming generations, and that is pretty awesome. That's legacy. I like it. I just wanted to say it.
And that's the message I wanted to get across, Anthony, because I know how much it would have meant for me now and for you if you think about it. So let us set that trend and be that inspiration for our future generations. So thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Then we're going to call it for today. Just again, thanks, Cobus, for being here, and everyone that's watching live. Really appreciate it, guys. Also, the people that are listening and viewing offline, thank you. And we hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you again next week. Cheers, everyone. Have a great week ahead.